Hey, what's going on? This is TNS Time and Space, and I would like to welcome you to the debut episode of Talk and Scroll, where I turn comments into content. First, we're going to get started. And also, before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, or subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff. But anyway, let's get into it. In this series, basically, I scroll through different comments, I respond to them, share my own comments, and turn them into content. So, right now, we're talking about Deshaun Watson. We'll kick it off by reading this comment. Everybody happy about Deshaun not being guilty. I'm thankful the truth came out as well, but we've witnessed an organization ruining a man's career because he wanted to leave. They basically did what they wanted to do, which is assassinate his character, where he lost playing time, endorsements, and his integrity. The Texans organization didn't stand behind him because they planned this. I'm not a fan of the sport, but a fan of the game. Therefore, the Texans did him wrong. He will never be the same mentally. Texans organization is trash, garbage, and filth. Hope they never win a Super Bowl. Trashy organization. Whether or not they're trashy is up for debate. I mean, competitively, they're not close to a Super Bowl. But one thing I will say in regards to supporting Deshaun Watson, it's the company corporate playbook to distance yourself from anyone who's accused, whether falsely or otherwise. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Anytime somebody is accused of something, anytime this comes up, the company starts to distance themselves and they make comments saying, we don't condone this, we don't condone that. These are not in line with our values, whatever the case may be. So I wouldn't even say it was about assassinating their character. It's about looking out for number one. So let that be a lesson. Even for regular people in companies and workplaces, the employer is going to look out for themselves if there's any chance that you might cast a negative light on them. But anyway, as far as him not wanting to leave, I mean, the Texans aren't going to set themselves back on purpose, just to spite Deshaun Watson. They want to make sure that they get draft picks so that they can strengthen their team and not be a trashy organization. But that's actually not what caught my attention. I just wanted to scroll through and respond to the comments to catch my attention. So, as far as what exactly do they have to gain? Nothing. They really don't have anything to gain, that being the Texans. The only thing they had to gain was, being viewed favorably for taking a stance, against Deshaun Watson because of what he was accused of. So unfortunately, they'll look out for number one, as I said. So as we're scrolling through, as far as what I countersue every last person, I mean, that's certainly an option. Now that the DA is not pursuing criminal charges, and if the civil suits, work out in Deshaun Watson's favor, that might be an option for him. So I really wanted to key in on this comment, though. At no point or in any way has he been proven innocent. You can literally say that about every and any case in the history of law. Those who don't agree with verdicts, or not even a verdict, I want to make sure I'm clear about that too. Deshaun Watson was never charged with anything, so it's not even a matter of innocence or guilt because there weren't even any charges filed. So if you want to talk about innocence or guilt, basically the DA determined that there wasn't sufficient evidence to move forward. And nobody's going to want to move forward and look stupid bringing a frivolous case. So if there wasn't even a case, or not even a case, if there wasn't even sufficient evidence to start a case, then we can't even talk about the conclusion of the case with someone being innocent or guilty. So, and then I want to mention my comment where I said, of course, we can't be 100% sure because we weren't there, but the DA's office determined that there wasn't sufficient evidence to move forward with criminal charges. That just leaves the court of public opinion, and everyone is entitled to theirs, but it's just that, opinions. Watson's supporters and detractors will believe what they want regardless, but the outcome remains. Deshaun Watson isn't facing criminal charges, and he's free to resume his career as the civil suits play out. I want to make sure to focus on that because, as far as his supporters and detractors, and I noticed that throughout this entire thread, is that there's definitely confirmation bias. What is confirmation bias? Basically, that is our tendency to gravitate towards information that supports our existing belief. So if you believe that Deshaun Watson was innocent, then you're going to take this outcome of not pursuing charges as absolute confirmation that he's absolutely innocent. Even if you weren't there, that's your existing belief, so you're going to gravitate towards whatever supports that belief. On the other end of the spectrum, you have his detractors, his critics, those who believe that he's guilty, those who will say, well, just because there weren't any charges filed, that doesn't mean nothing happened. Fair enough. So what you're going to do then, because the outcome didn't support your existing belief, is you're going to say, yeah, but. You're going to say, yeah, but these types of things happen, or just because, or this one right here, perfect example. It wasn't enough evidence to proceed with the charges doesn't mean he's not guilty. Literally, you need evidence to prove someone is guilty. Other than that, it's the court of public opinion, which you are entitled to. And I also believe that for Deshaun Watson's critics, they're thinking that the news of the DA's office not pursuing charges is supposed to change your mind. Deshaun Watson and his attorney and his legal team do not care about changing your mind. That's for after the case, as far as repairing your image or what have you. That is all that has to do. That has nothing to do with the legal case. For example, people mentioned OJ, like this person saying not guilty is not the same as innocent, though. Just ask OJ. OJ Simpson today is not concerned with whether or not you believe he was guilty of that double murder. The only thing that matters is the sentence, or not the sentence, but the verdict that Judge Ito handed down. That's all that matters. Now, you might not say, or you may believe that's not what matters morally, but morally and legally, or morality and legality, that's two different arguments. That's two totally different conversations. So, in regards to that, you can believe whatever you want. People are going to believe whatever they want, but ultimately, the outcome is the outcome. And someone else said, oh, and just for clarity, he has never been formally charged with a crime. Wasn't enough evidence because it's all made up. Was it all made up? Maybe so, maybe not. I will say this, though. If it was actually made up, or whether it was made up, or whether there's actual validity or, credibility to these accusations, that's what the civil process is for. The bar for a civil, not conviction, but for a judgment, that's much less than the bar, criminally. As far as a criminal case, the DA would have had to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt versus, a preponderance of evidence as far as the civil standard. So you're talking about, 100% or darn near versus 51%. So for those who are feeling as though there was a tremendous injustice towards Deshaun Watson, the accusers still have the civil route to take. So they really shouldn't be upset. If anything, Deshaun Watson has to defend himself twice. Although it's not technically double jeopardy, criminal and civil proceedings are different. If you think about it, he kind of has to defend himself twice. On the one hand, he had to prove it had to be determined that there's not a 100% chance that he did this. But now he also has to prove that there's not a 51% chance he did this. So, as someone pointed out here, they said it would be virtually impossible to hide or cover up sexually assaulting 22 women. The reason he wasn't charged with a crime is because these acts, if they actually happened, were consensual. We've seen this story 1,000 times. Some celebrity pisses off the wrong person. Now, all of a sudden, some story breaks of sexual misconduct. It's really getting old. There is curious timing, and as far as people suddenly deciding that they can no longer keep silent, I know on the one hand, and getting back to that confirmation bias, the people who dislike Deshaun Watson believe that the number of women is proof that he must have done something, whereas his supporters will say that 22 women popping up all of a sudden with these accusations is proof that there's something nefarious going on. So, scrolling down some more, people mention living room lawyers. I would say even more so than living room lawyers, people just have strong emotions. So someone else, I won't read the entire comment. They said, I just never understood why he needed so many different massage therapists. So here was my response. I said, those are fair questions, but they don't factor into the actual case. It's not like the grand jury would say, well, I wouldn't do that, so let's charge him criminally for doing something that doesn't make sense to us. And that's also in response to the people who have a problem with him having 22 masseuses. And I saw a few comments that were along the lines of, well, the only person you should be getting a massage from is your wife. That's fine if that's your belief system. But number one, whether or not Deshaun Watson is married or single, that's his business. But that's nothing criminal. You know what I mean? You may believe that's morally wrong, but we're not judging morality right now because that's subjective. We're judging legality, whether or not it's legal. So that's what I would say to the people who are virtue signaling. And there's tons of virtue signaling. So many people are saying, oh, that's so creepy. Why would he have so many masseuses? There must be a reason why he swapped out masseuses constantly or what have you. So here's what someone else said. They said, I find it hard to believe with having over 22 women accuse him with testimonials, a grand jury couldn't find enough evidence to prosecute him, knowing that people still out here accusing him of being guilty. Dude is innocent. So again, we never know about absolute innocence, but that's with any case. Do we ever really know? All we have is our legal system and our legal proceedings, if we're really thinking about it. So those were just some of my thoughts. I just wanted to share them in my view. So, okay, here's what I said in that regard, too. That applies to every and any case. The grand jury wasn't there, so they have to go by the evidence presented. As for the court of public opinion, people are free to support or not support Deshaun Watson as they see fit. In closing, I just want to say that I'm so happy that our legal proceedings aren't like an election. This is not a popular vote. And that's fortunate because a lot of people would be found guilty just because they're not popular if that was the case. A lot of people alluded to feelings about Deshaun Watson breaking across racial lines. I don't believe it's strictly racial. I won't say it's strictly racial. I believe it has to do with belief systems. Can they coincidentally, fall along the lines of race? Yes, they can. But I don't believe it's just that. So in closing, I want to look at this last comment where someone said, he sexually assaulted at least 22 women we know of. There is just no physical evidence. This man is trash. I hope he pulls a ball bag, I don't know what that means, and can't ever play again. So my response was, you're free to believe that, but no one knows for sure unless they were there. That's like me saying you committed a crime, but I don't have the necessary evidence to prove it. Should you be deemed guilty just because me and a bunch of other people say so? Now here's the funny thing. Here was the person's response. Lack of evidence does not prove innocence, just lack or proof of guilt. But when 22 people have the same story, pretty sure you're a scumbag. Now, of course, if someone is a scumbag, what is that? Subjective. What do you believe a scumbag is? Fair enough. However, this person didn't respond to my question of if he was accused. If he was accused, if I accused him of something and got some people to side with me, would that automatically make you guilty? So for those, like in this comment, just because legally he got off does not mean that nothing happened. Again, something obviously happened. Whether or not it was consensual or non-consensual is the issue. But as far as the DA's office, unless you don't think they were seeking justice, I'm sure they would love to get a high-profile conviction, but there just wasn't the evidence there. So just because you say pretty sure he's a scumbag, our legal system doesn't work with pretty sure. And that's fortunate. Once again, we are so fortunate. I can't say enough how grateful I am that a person's guilt or innocence isn't strictly determined by a popular vote. But anyway, that's TNS Time and Space. Once again, this has been Talk and Scroll. You can like, comment, or subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you can know anytime that I post a new video. But anyway, y'all take it easy.